What is going on, everybody? I know why you're here. You know why you're here. We all know why you're here. And that's for some top-notch fantasy football content. And as guys of the Fantasy Council, we're going to give it to you. Miles, Rob, what's going on?
Yes, sir. Happy to be here as always. Week 4 takeaways.
Let's get it. Excited.
All right, let's get right into it. Some Week 4 takeaways. We're going to give you two each. Miles, you want to start us off?
Yeah, I'll start us off here. And it's a sad one, especially for all the fantasy enthusiasts. It might be the beginning of the end for King Henry. And it's sad to say, but he has not looked great through 3 weeks. Week 3 especially. Week 3, he only played 18 snaps. He had 11 carries for like 20 yards. And in comparison, Tyjae Spears played 27 snaps. Now, he only had 4 carries, but he had all the receiving work. He had 4 targets and 4 receptions compared to Derrick Henry's 0 for both. And Tyjae Spears is talented. I mean, he had 3rd-round draft capital, so they spent a solid pick to draft him. Now, they did play a tough Cleveland D, which you have to kind of take into consideration, but I don't know. I think Derrick Henry could be a little more game script dependent this year especially. I mean, the Titans just look awful. Tannehill's a mess. And typically they've always been a good team. They're usually above 500. Last year they weren't. They were like 7-10 last year. But before that, for the majority of Derrick Henry's career, they were always usually in positive game scripts most of the time. Now, I'm not saying completely jump ship and sell him for anything. I'm sure he'll still have his good weeks, but if someone is willing to pay for the name right now, I'd do it.
Yeah, I agree. It is sad because as a fantasy football player, it's a guy like as I've been growing up playing fantasy, he's kind of always been there dominating, but it does look like the beginning of the end. But with that said, I'm gonna jump into my first takeaway, and it's I don't think it's crazy to say that the Miami Dolphins offense might be the best modern offense we've ever seen. Listen, it's been 3 weeks. They're averaging 43 points per game, which is 13 more points per game than the second place team, which is the Bills, who, interestingly enough, they're playing the Bills next week. So we'll see what happens. They got a solid defense. No one really has been able to slow down the Dolphins yet. We'll see if the Bills could do it. I personally doubt it. Mike McDaniel looks like a guru. The way he uses like pre-snap motion to kind of get his speedy weapons into space and just wide open all the time. Tua looks great. He's throwing with anticipation in the tight windows. He's reading the defense well on all levels of the field. I think RB1 in this offense, RB, you could probably start 2 RBs in this offense any week. I have no problem starting Mostert or A-Chain right now with the ridiculous touchdown upside that comes with playing them every week. And additionally, they scored 70 points last week without Jalen Waddle, who I think is a universally kind of known, probably top 15 wide receiver in the league. 70 points in a game has not been scored since 1966. Only 4 teams have ever done it. And, they did that without their number 2 wide receiver, who's a number 1 wide receiver on almost any team in the league. The Dolphins offense looks absolutely ridiculous. And if you have any of the guys on that offense, I'm super happy starting them any given week.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. McDaniel using the pre-snap motion 83% of the time. It's ridiculous. That offense is crazy. But my first takeaway is about DeAndre Swift, and it's just kind of stating that he's the real deal. Right now, he's coming off back-to-back 100-yard games, getting his opportunities. He had a 54% snap share last week. And right now, he's second in the NFL in rushing yards behind Christian McCaffrey with, I think, 305. And that's pretty much just 2 games because the first game he had like 1 carry for 3 yards. He's running behind the best line in the NFL, which you love to see. He kind of, the way he runs kind of fits what they like to do in that scheme as well. I'm a huge fan of Swift. The positive game scripts going forward are going to be awesome. I mean, the Eagles are majority going to be ahead in almost all their games. They've been pounding the rock as of recent, and Swift looks like he's just their guy. The receiving upside's there. He hasn't been looked at a ton, but like it's always there. And obviously the touchdown upside is also there. I mean, you can get in the end zone any week on that Eagles offense. And like his floor, you can see he's just so high. Like minimum, he's probably going to have around 10 to 11 points a game just off his rushing upside. And with a touchdown and then his receiving work, it's just the ceiling's also the limit. I think you can kind of buy him right now at an interesting price. It's not too high. But yeah, my takeaway with him is just he's a stud, locked and loaded RB2 rest of the year.
Yeah, Swift does look great. I mean, he's just so explosive too. You see him hit the gaps just out of a cannon. And boy, was I wrong. 'Cause I was saying like sell high DeAndre Swift, and
I was too.
and I don't know. Yeah, so he's looked good even with Gainwell coming back. I think he could still be annoying week to week with the amount of work he gets, but he's so efficient that he could definitely have some put up some good production still. My second takeaway is that it's time to panic on Justin Fields.
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
I mean, I honestly don't think he's startable anymore. He's currently QB 22 in points per game with 13.3 points. He's 36th in QB rating with a QBR of 67.7. And, I mean, he's never been a great passer so far in his NFL career, but his floor just isn't as high as we all thought it was with his rushing ability. I mean, it really hasn't been too much of a factor so far this year, to the point where it cancels out how bad he's been in the passing game. I mean, it kind of feels like teams found out how to contain his rushing and they're forcing him to throw, and he just can't throw the ball, even with the addition of DJ Moore. So, yeah, and he's actively hurting your roster at this point, because this was about the QB5 consensus off draft boards, drafted in the 5th or 6th round. So that's a good player in the 5th or 6th round, and he's actively hurting your roster by starting him every week. I'd start guys like, if they're on your waiver wire, I'd start Goff over him now. I'd start easily Goff. Purdy, I'd start over him with that offense. And I might even consider Stroud if he keeps playing the way he is. So that's my second takeaway.
Yeah, thanks for that segue, because I would definitely start C.J. Stroud over Justin Fields right now. And with that, actually leads perfectly into my second takeaway, which has a lot to do with this Texans offense. C.J. Stroud, he looks like a beast. He looks like a veteran. He looks so comfortable in the pocket. His pocket awareness has been great. He's making anticipation throws, throwing his receivers open all over the field. They have an interesting young offensive coordinator, Bobby Slowick. He came over from the Niners. Obviously, he's got that Shanahan wide zone influence. But it's kind of interesting what he's doing, because it's a little more pass heavy than you'd expect coming from a Shanahan scheme. But it's working. His receivers are creating a lot of separation. I think Nico Collins and Tank Dell complement each other really well, as Tank Dell is kind of that quick, shifty separator type of guy. And Nico Collins is also a pretty crisp route runner. I love the way he feels for zone coverage, kind of can find the soft spot in the zone, sit down, and CJ Stroud's just been delivering. He's been getting it there. They beat the Jags last week, surprisingly. I don't think many people saw that coming, but I think the Texans team is a lot better than we thought they were going to be coming into the season. The Jags defense in week 2 held Kansas City to 17 points, and the Texans I believe dropped 37 on their
37. Yeah, they blew them out.
Yeah, I mean, it was a little bit thanks to that fullback kick return, but the offense was chugging, man. CJ Stroud looks great, and I'm kind of all on board with this Texans offense. If CJ Stroud's throwing the ball, I think both wide receivers, Nico Collins and Tank Dell, are very, very fantasy viable. Obviously, they had their own line struggles, but they were missing Laramie Tunsil, and I don't think CJ Stroud got sacked last week, which was really nice to see. And they'll be re-injecting Laramie Tunsil hopefully soon back in that offensive line. I think it's wheels up for the Texans offense for the most part. There'll probably be some tough matchups down the line, but overall their schedule is not too hard, and CJ Stroud is hucking the ball. I like Texans options.
Yeah, for sure. If they're down, they'll throw too. But yeah, the sky's the limit for that offense for Stroud. I couldn't agree more. My second takeaway is Jacoby Myers is a locked and loaded wide receiver 2, stud the rest of the way. I'm buying him in every league right now, but Jacoby Myers right now is through 2 games has 16 catches on 22 targets and 2 touchdowns. He right now has a 31.4% target share, which is the second highest in all of the NFL. He's averaging 22.3 points per game, which is 5th among all receivers. I mean, he is putting up some absurd numbers, which no one really saw coming going into the season. And I mean, this Raiders team is not great. Jimmy Garoppolo is really just not showing a lot. He's just kind of an intermediate short guy, but he's still supporting 2 top 5 receivers right now in points per game. It a lot has to do with game script and like Josh McDaniels' offense, but I'm just all over Jacoby Myers right now trying to buy him. He's just like a guy that no one thinks he's this top 12, top 20 even option just because of his name and what's going on. You could buy him right now for cheaper than he'll ever be, and he's going to have I think a top 15 season. So yeah, my takeaway is Jacoby Myers, elite guy. Go get him.
Yeah, if I can interject real quick, I think Jimmy Garoppolo, like his play style kind of perfectly complements Jacoby Myers because Jimmy Garoppolo is not a good deep ball passer at all. He's like around the line of scrimmage, short pass merchant, and that is what Jacoby Myers has thrived at his entire career. So targets look great. Jimmy Garoppolo is looking at him a ton. Like when he's catching the ball, I always have to like wait until I turn around to see the number. Like, is it 17 or 16? Like, is that Devontae Adams or Jacoby Myers? But,
they look very similar on the field.
I agree. I also love Jacoby Myers for the rest of the season.
Yeah, and the touchdowns kind of seem just almost kind of back and forth. Like week 1 it was Myers, week 2 was Devontae. You can't tell who it is half the time because they both look so smooth out there. But yeah.
Yeah, I think he gives you a good floor and a nice ceiling too. I agree.
100%.
Sure.
All right, yeah. You guys got anything else you want to add?
No, I'm good.
I think I'm all good.
Awesome, sounds great. That's been the week 3 takeaways from us guys at the Fantasy Council. Like, comment, subscribe, listen to what you guys think, and have a good one. Peace.
Peace.